Hey, everybody. Welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from giantbomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about how you don't just have to worry about high prices for consoles. You can also worry about how hard they're going to be to find soon. It's going to be a good one because we have Jan Ochoa on the show. Jan, how are you doing?
Grubb, as I was looking through the rundown today, I was stun-locked when I saw a story talking about Christmas this year.
Yeah, that's right. It's that time to start kind of talking about the holiday season, right? It is, we're going to get to July 4th here, and then summer's going to fly by, and then it's going to be Halloween before you know it. And that is basically, that's the year. That's it. It's all going to be over. It is really, I mean, I would say it all the time now. It's really flying by. It's just absolutely evaporating in my fingers.
It's zooming by. When I think about certain key events from last year, and I think, oh, we're almost 1 year since then. That's crazy.
Yep, it's wild. But yeah, man, Jan, I had a hell of a night last night trying to get this PSVR working. It was
Grubb, I saw some of the posts.
Yeah, there's a rant that I had to write down of all the things that went wrong, and that was only half of it. Got to a point where it's it connected to the internet. And then I waited 5 minutes, and it's well, I'm just not gonna connect again. I'm like, what? Why? And then I turned the PS4 off and walked away to go eat dinner. I came back and it had downloaded the thing, and that was after trying to sign in for 30 minutes because passwords aren't a thing anymore. We're on to passkeys, and it's I just changed devices recently, so trying to track that down was a nightmare.
Oh,
again,
God.
That is just the tip of the iceberg with what went wrong with this thing. It's all working now. I got it working. So
of course.
We'll do some Monster of the Deep for 15 minutes or something like that, and then and that'll be that. That's the job, Jan.
The job we set out when we make a special themed week just for us.
Exactly.
I think it's appalling that the rest of the industry is not wishing us a happy fishing week, right?
It is a failure. It shows just how callous this industry can be.
You know, I understand our friends at Kinda Funny are busy, but our other peers...
I don't understand.
You're right. Our other peers across the industry, like VGC, how come Jordan Midler hasn't written a skeet wishing Giant Bomb happy fishing week, huh?
It's embarrassing for them.
Our friends at Remap.
Come on.
You know, thankfully, I did hear the Nextlander guys confusingly read a chat message saying, fishing week? So I'll take that.
That counts. We take those. We claim those.
Yes.
Those are ours.
Yeah.
That's woke to me. All right, let's get into this show. Thank you for watching, everybody. Hey, become a premium member. I'm just going to look you right in the eye and say, become a premium member by going to giantbomb.com/join. If you do so, you're supporting independent games media. So become a premium member. It makes a huge difference in how we can keep doing this thing. And we really appreciate it. I again, noticing people signing up all the time. And when I notice, it's thank you. It means the world. It means we can keep doing this. So thank you, everybody who signed up recently. Thank you to all the people who've been there from the beginning. We appreciate it. And it gets you ad-free versions of the shows. It's going to get you premium exclusives. I'm going to be working on a Grub Snacks premium probably for Friday. So we'll get that going. And we talking about new plans all the time of new stuff that'll be coming and really exciting stuff in the works for sure. As far as this show goes, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with there may not be enough consoles this Christmas to meet demand. A major retailer warns. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. The release of Grand Theft Auto 6 may lead to a shortage of consoles at Christmas, a major retailer has warned. A senior games buyer for an unnamed retailer has told the games business that the combination of component shortages and price increases mean consoles have been in shorter supply than usual, and that while stock may be available during this relatively quiet period, The release of GTA 6 will likely lead to a situation where console stocks sell out. We've been informed that because of the ongoing issues around hardware component availability, we won't be getting the units we want ahead of GTA. The senior games buyer, speaking without his employer's permission, told the publication. Demand will likely outstrip supply during the year end period. He added, the game business has contacted Sony and Microsoft for comment on the claims made, but notes that Xbox Chief Strategy Officer Matthew Ball already told the publication earlier this month that supply levels were currently an issue. I can tell you definitely demand for our console exceeds the supply, Ball told him at the time. Couple things to think about, Jan, here. First of all, this sucks. This sucks that we're here again.
Yeah.
That after years of especially the early years where these consoles were very hard to get, especially the PS5, but even the Xbox Series X for a long time there was hard to get.
Yeah.
And you get on the other side of that, and our reward for that, especially for the people who waited, was, well, here's a more expensive version of these consoles several times over. So now that they are significantly more expensive, and not only is it going to be more expensive, it's going to be hard to find, which is likely going to bring back scalpers, Jan. It's likely going to bring back higher prices on eBay for people who absolutely have to have Grand Theft Auto 6. This stinks.
Yeah, Grubb, I thought after we got over the initial scalpers hump and consoles were a little bit more available, things would be fine. And then I thought prices would go down just because we are very, I'd say, late into this console generation at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
Only to see none of those things be true and for scalpers at the gates, Grubb, ready and fiending. And it's wild because at this point, I would have assumed that everyone that would have wanted a PS5, a PS5 Pro, would have already gotten one by now. But I guess I didn't realize that there would be a lot of people still waiting to upgrade for GTA 6. And, that's probably outside of the core gaming audience that we talk to all the time.
Right.
And more so that casual, normal audience that just wants to walk into a GameStop or a big box retailer. It's still wild, though, Gruff, that this is even a thing. And also, it's hilarious that this senior games buyer is defying the wishes of their boss to share this story.
To sound the sirens. Yeah, sure.
Also, part of it does, I'm not going to lie, Grubb, part of it does feel a little fishy that the senior games
fishy,
buyer, a little fishing week. This is the week to do it. The senior games buyer that works at a big retailer is creating this story or feeding into a story about scarcity to drive people to buy stuff now.
Yeah, I think that's the other side of this, Jan. Is is this really going to be the case now? It's it is very easy to believe with the component shortage, right? Sony and Microsoft probably were holding back on crazy investments in making a lot of consoles right in this quiet period. And now they might be behind the 8 ball if GTA 6 hype really does go off the charts even more than they were expecting. The hard part to believe is that these two companies would not have been able to predict, Microsoft and Sony would not have been able to predict that they need a lot of consoles to go alongside Grand Theft Auto 6 so that they could see the maximum return. They are going to miss out if they don't have enough consoles. So that maybe beggars belief a little bit. And it's okay, so wait, they're not going to do that? Or are you just saying that to drum up demand? And both could be almost equally true here, where it's we don't really know yet. He's just saying that these companies are trying to catch up, and maybe they still can. But either way, it's this is a big moment, and there will be a lot of people trying to track this stuff down. I bet some people will run into some issues trying to get some hardware. I don't think it's going to be that bad, Jan.
I don't think it's going to be to the same level around the PS5 launch, right, Grubb? Where people are constantly refreshing and trying to find whatever.
Yes, I think you're right.
Best Buy is selling them now. They have them in stock. Run and go get a PS5 here. I don't think it's going to be that levels. It's a little hard for me to believe, just because I feel like console sales have probably slowed down a little bit because of the price increase. That I feel like there must be and there has to be stock laying around. Also, I don't want this bedlam, and I don't want scalpers to take over the market again, just because of
No one wants that. Yes.
Yeah, exactly, because how they were wreaking havoc across prices with the launch of the PS5 initially, and tried to do that with like the Switch 2 and what they're trying to do with the Steam controller.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And they're going to try even with the Steam Deck, even though that's a lottery system. I'm sure those scalpers have found some way to have 50 entries into those lotteries or whatever. From Reuters real quick, Apple also announced price increases today. Prices going up on the iPad and MacBook. That MacBook Neo, which is basically just an iPhone and a laptop case, went from $599 to $699. So that's up $100. It's a pretty significant increase, more. It's around 15%, right? I'm trying to do quick math there. But everything's kind of going up. Like Apple hiked the price of the MacBook Air with 512 gigabytes. Storage rose from from 1,100 to 1,300. The MacBook Pro with 1 terabyte of storage rose to $2,000 from $1,700, and the iPad Air with 128 gigabytes of storage rose from $599 to $750. So and their stock prices down and stuff like that as these stories go. Blah blah blah. We know that the component shortage is not cooling off. Like if anything, it is spreading, and it's like we talked about maybe on a show last week, Jan, about like RAM prices. It's sort of just gone from one. This is the one time trickle down economics is real. Like terrible things trickle down pretty well. The high bandwidth memory was the thing that AI data centers wanted, but that somehow rose cost on DDR6X and 7, and then 5, and then 4, and now 3, which is ancient. And we've been seeing the same thing happening over on the side, storage side of things with SSDs, NVMe SSDs going up in price, and then SATA drives, and now traditional hard drives, have gone up in price astronomically. Like in the last week or so, it just keeps going up and up and up, and people who are trying to build their NASs are tearing their hair out. It's spreading. So, if you're one of these companies, you probably are trying to like find the right amount of gas on the pedal, right? How much can we really be making enough of these things while also not getting out over our skis, paying way too much money for consoles that might sit on the shelf, because that costs us way more now than it has ever cost before. That's I could see the difficulty in navigating that. It sucks we're here, and we're looking for the guy who did this, and of course it is the companies like Microsoft, and really now Sony is right there trumpeting AI as much as anyone else. So they've all made this bet, and now they're lying in it.
Yeah, I was thankful for the longest time that Sony PlayStation was kind of not talking about AI, and it was under my hopeful assumption that they were taking a bold stance on it, of like, no, we're not doing that, only to see that eventually trickle in. And Grubb, the other factor in this equation when it comes to talking about how spending is going to happen around the holidays, up until that point, who the hell knows what's going to happen from the end of June now to the holiday season.
We have an election between then.
Yeah, we have an election until then, but also gas prices, grocery prices. At the end of the day, video games are hobbyist activities that people don't need to live on a day-to-day basis, and a lot of people have been shifting their priorities to things that they do need. Like, you will need a computer if you're a student or you're going to work or something like that.
Yes.
And you need groceries. You need to put food on families. So I could see that also being a factor in this overall equation on console availability, console sales moving forward.
Yeah, there are just some non-negotiable pressure points in people's lives: food, shelter, and this stuff. And that stuff is not, groceries are not going down in price. Homes are not going down in price. We had some legislation passed here about addressing that. That's going to take years to make a difference. And even then, might just catch up to like baseline so that prices stop going up, and they'll just sort of level out at a place where it's still unaffordable for most people. So kind of when we start talking about prices going up on consoles, that's such a luxury item at this point. There was a time when maybe affordable computing was so affordable that you could put it in this thing of like that is a reasonable hobby to engage in, whether it's console or PC, and now that it is clearly shipped out of that lane and into luxury goods, and it's we'll see how that like shakes out as like normal people are going to want to play Grand Theft Auto 6. Those are going to be immovable object and unstoppable force meeting each other. And we're going to have to kind of witness how that all shakes out.
And, Grubb, this is also, we're not talking about how desperate people are over wages as well, right? I mean, we're going to talk soon about people getting laid off. And yes, that affects people in the tech industry, video game development industry, but people like in some blue collar jobs as well are just like feeling the effects of the economy just slowly closing its hands around everyone's necks. Like,
yeah,
there was a recent news story in the Bay Area of a school, like a summer camp, getting all of their MacBooks stolen because who knows?
That delicious RAM.
That delicious RAM. Someone wanted to try and make a quick buck off of selling kids' computers, or computers that were for kids for the summer in a program. People are desperate. People are getting a little bit wacky out there.
Yep. Trump cancels signing a bipartisan housing bill until his Save America Act is passed.
Go fall in the fucking pool, you idiot.
Holding the most popular legislation that was actually bipartisan for like the first time in 30 years or something like that hostage so that you could steal an election. Just cool stuff that we have happening over here constantly. All right. Well, that's not going to help him in the election, which will happen, I think. Fun thing to say. I think the election will happen, Jan. Bungie announces layoffs as it acknowledges Destiny 2 fell short of expectations, which is, it's just weird to say that at this point. But this is from Chris Scullion at VGC. Bungie has announced that it will be making further layoffs. The Destiny 2 studio made the announcement in a statement on Twitter, essentially confirming previous reports that the studio was planning a significant number of layoffs. With great sadness, we are announcing a reduction in force as we reorganize Bungie, the statement reads. As the leaders of Bungie, past and present, we recognize Destiny 2 fell short of expectations these past several years. Following our final content update to Destiny 2, and with our future projects still in early incubation, we unfortunately could not continue operating at our previous size. We know this decision was a profound impact on the people affected, their families, friends, and teammates. While those changes are necessary to best position the studio now and for the future, that does not lessen the difficulty of this moment or the impact it has had on those affected. Later, we will share more about the future with you all, but today is not that day. Okay, yeah, that's right. Save that stuff for another time. You're right, and not this day. All this other stuff is such bullshit at this point, Jan. It's like, we know this affects the families. We know this is really bad for the people who are laying off. Don't just say it, show it. Like, what are you doing to sort of make, to get to a point where it's clear that you understand and you are taking maybe pay cuts at the executive level. There are shakeups on the executive level. Changes are being made up there. That's, we know whose decisions these were, and it was not the people who are being laid off. They just did all of the work to make the value in the first place. And then you now are cutting them. It's a story as old as time at this point. We've been through these layoff stories a million times now, Jan, and it's always this for the most part. This one just feels like, God, you could have seen this coming a mile away. Destiny 2 was successful if you could have gotten your hands around things in a more manageable way earlier on, and you just kind of kept pushing and pushing. And the owners of Bungie, when they were being acquired by Sony, clearly just put on a dog and pony show, smoke and mirrors, and made it seem like things were going so much better than they actually were. So they got their huge payday, got to either keep their jobs or get out of Dodge, either way with all of that money. And then now the workers are paying for that magic trick. And it's like, that seems to be what has happened here.
Yeah. Grubb, I never understand why in any of these layoffs that come out, also that it's I always get so mad when I will see random key art of whatever geometric shapes and then a block of text saying how sorry a CEO or management is, when really management should be held accountable when these like bosses at the top should be held accountable because they're the ones calling the shots that put them in this spot.
Yep.
It completely discounting how big Destiny 2 is and was, and then continuing to put focus into Marathon, which I understand is a good game and has has developed like a loyal audience, but also you are playing with people's livelihoods at this point and getting rid of all these talented people for what? How are you going to then support Marathon moving forward or try and scale up Marathon moving forward?
Right.
It doesn't make sense because the people that are making these games, they're the ones that are more important than the person at the top that is like ready to perhaps maybe even go into ChatGPT or Claude and ask for what is the most PC way and heart-wrenching way to announce that we have to lay off people rather than taking like a physical human stance on this.
I mean, you know, if they even do that, P. Parsons was like so detached from anything. He might not have been going into AI unless it was to ask about how can I buy 25 more cars or whatever, which is like a real number of cars he bought over a 2-year period for something like several $1 million. It's like that's what he was spending his time doing. And in the meantime, the people making the games were kind of just doing their best to get that game into as good of a position as it could. And it's fell short of expectations. What were the expectations for Destiny 2? And I get it. I say it all the time, Jan. The expectations are based on how much it costs to run a company. This one just seems like something got detached from reality in a real way, where it's like, if you have your studio set up in such a way where the performance of Destiny 2 is not enough, that is not on the performance of the game. It is clearly on the people who set up the studio. Yeah. Something has gone incredibly wrong. Something has broken at a fundamental level, and to just get to say that out loud, to put that in writing, that game fell short of expectations, and then what we need to do now is get rid of a bunch of people while we figure out what's next. Feels like, oh, Bungie's dead. This is it. The people that are left there that are going to be in charge are completely brain dead. And the people trying to make Marathon a thing, their morale is going to be in the toilet. People are going to start looking for a way out.
Yeah. And I know that the folks that are in that specific position, Grubb, their backs are against the wall because it seems like an insurmountable task to move anywhere in the industry at this point because there are so many people looking for a job. But at that point, of course, whatever subsequent product is going to suffer because not only have you reduced the size of your team, morale is low, and whoever you are going to try and exploit next and hire next because you're going to pay them chump change compared to all the people you laid off, their foundational knowledge of whatever tools you're using isn't going to be up to par as the talent you let go. And then you're going to continue to blame the performance of the game sales-wise on the devs and the audience rather than taking the blame yourselves.
When Bungie, okay, let me ask you, what do you think is more likely? That in 5 years, Bungie returns with some sort of sad new game that is like maybe licensed or something like that, or Sony kind of just says, let's just take our losses here, or would that be too embarrassing?
I could definitely, I see the latter happening more, Grubb, of Sony cutting their losses rather than Bungie having some rallying game that quote unquote brings them back, right? I could see with how Sony has been okay closing a studio like Blue Point and Japan studios in the past, which felt like pillars for them or institutions within the industry as a whole. I could see a future, unfortunately, where they decide to close Bungie.
Destiny 3 is just not in the cards. Like,
no.
That's the thing. Like that, it is way too expensive. The amount of money they ask to make that, and it's like, even if they cut that in half, it's still too expensive. Like, cutting it in half would still make it one of the most expensive games ever made. like that, like the budget that they proposed in the first place. So that, to me, that just says there's no way that game happens under anyone who's currently making any decisions at either Sony or Bungie. They'd have to sort of come back in a different way and like be like, Bungie is a scrappy studio. Maybe they do some stuff in early access. Like we're talking 10 years from now. That's a very different company. So like if Destiny 3 is not on the table, God, I don't know. Was it you that was like, they should just go make the next Halo? They should just like partner up with Microsoft and do that? Because it's like, man.
I may have been me, but I would think that'd be hilarious. Yeah, Grubb, I feel very bad for the folks that are getting let go from Bungie, not because of anything that they themselves did, right?
Yeah. Warframe is such like a interesting. It's like how does Warframe figure it out? And it's like obviously they just kind of blew up at the right size, like commensurate with the like what was happening with the game. And it's not like the people making that game are in some cheap place. They're in the Toronto area, which is very expensive in a lot of its own ways, and Canada has higher costs of living in a lot of ways. And yet they've been able to make that make sense, and they're making a new game and stuff. And who knows? Maybe the party does wrap up soon for that, but it just doesn't seem like it. It seems like they figured it out.
I think part of it, Grubb, it feels like that studio is a studio that actually feels human. And they listen to their audience, they take that into account, and that they're not making drastic moves to exploit their existing audience. And yeah, like TennoCon is huge and like a quiet behemoth. And anytime that Warframe pops up at like a PAX or anything and has their very suggestive statue that they bring around, that audience like shows up in droves. Like this last PAX East, I believe like Warframe was having a panel, and it wasn't until like the evening, but there were people lining up in the morning so they could get a spot. And I think, of course, like it probably like the first couple people in line probably got something that you could carry over into the game, but still, that's like that dedicated audience that is showing up obscenely early for Warframe.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and Destiny has all of that, but yeah, they just clearly things really fell apart under Sony after selling, and I'm not saying that it's Sony's fault. I think Bungie and Sony have a lot of blame to go around, but I would put most of it at the leadership of Bungie.
Totally.
So that means it was starting even beforehand when they were independent, and it's like they just couldn't. Their choice was, let's sell out here and get our payday and leave the mess to someone else instead of being responsible in the first place. And that might be the big difference between what's happened between Destiny and Warframe.
Grubb, quick question for you, and I guess also the folks at home. I know that Destiny 2 is one of those games, like a Red Dead Redemption 2, where it's kind of someone's forever game, or can be someone's forever game. Where does that audience go to now? Like, where do they pivot over to? Because I don't necessarily see all of those people going over to Marathon. And Warframe may not be their cup of tea or their favorite flavor of games. So I'm curious where that audience shifts to, if they shift to anywhere.
Yeah, I think it's good. They're going to kind of be nomads, right? I think they're going to be sort of out to sea for a while. And there will be some game that does come along in the next 3-ish years that's like, hey, we have some new ideas for online multiplayer gaming, where it's like PvE stuff, but some PvP in there as well. Check it out. And I think it will reap a lot of the rewards. I think Warframe is actually probably going to capture some of these people. Like the people, the good vibes over there kind of always exist. Maybe people just show up for Soulframe. Is that what it's called? Yeah. Something like that. But I think most of them will be nomads. They'll try out Marathon. If Marathon doesn't grab them, then yes, they'll kind of just be waiting in the wings for something to bring them back. Or, they'll move on. They'll get a different hobby. Like that's what normal people do. And that's what most of the people we're talking about are.
Yeah, that's the crazy part and unfortunate part because I've seen a bunch of friends online that spent so much time in Destiny 2, kind of just reckoning with the fact that it's going to go away. and that that there is no next place for like their Destiny 2 group to move to after this.
Yeah, I just like, I've talked about it before, thousands of hours in Call of Duty and then in Titanfall. And when I was done with that genre, I was just kind of done. Fuck fish, that thing from Adaptation, right? I was done with the ocean. Fuck fish. I'm moving on. Happy Fishing Week. And I like, it's, just kind of fuck first-person shooters. I don't need that stuff anymore. I'm good. I had my fill. That was a point in my life, and I've moved on to other things. And it was other video games, but not other multiplayer online competitive video games. So, I think that's going to happen to a lot of players. Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, there's plenty more to get into. We're going to see what that idiot Tim Sweeney's talking about this time. After these messages, if you want to skip out on these, giantbomb.com/join. Premium members get ad-free versions of the shows there. We'll be right back. It's Game Mess Mornings. I'm Jeff Grubb. That's Jan Ochoa. We are going to continue on here with the next story. Compulsion Games developers are now looking for work as Xbox studio closures loom. This is from Insider Gaming. Basically, the story here is, though, Jen, that people are noticing on LinkedIn that a lot of the developers at Compulsion Games are not waiting for the axe to drop, or maybe the axe has dropped in secret, like not public. I shouldn't say in secret, not publicly, and we don't know about it, and they do. But either way, a lot of them have announced they are looking for work because they are no longer going to be at Compulsion. This feels like, things we keep hearing like this, something like this is going to happen. I think we're expecting pretty significant layoffs from Xbox, especially after their fiscal year ends at the end of this month. And in the meantime, what we've heard is a lot of these studios are in negotiations with the leadership at Xbox and Microsoft about like what could happen, finding ways to save the studios, maybe some major layoffs and kind of starting the studio back up as something small. That seems unlikely. The more likely scenario is closure, and something in between would be finding a buyer external to Microsoft, but through Microsoft so that they still kind of get a cut, which feels like it's going to be an impediment to that happening. In the meantime, if you're someone who works at these studios and you can kind of get, you lick your finger, put it in the wind, Jan, you're like, oh, I'm at Compulsion, and I don't feel like things are going well with these negotiations. It's time to just like I can only control what I can control. Let me go find something. Feels like that's what this is.
Yeah, Grubb. This it feels similar to the thought you brought up with the last story about Bungie, where the devs at Compulsion Games see the writing on the wall and are looking to get out before things get potentially worse, or to get ahead of it. Probably. Right.
I mean, the earlier you get out on the market, the better it's going to be. Because if you're expecting big layoffs at Microsoft, there's suddenly going to be a lot of people demand for your job might be pretty low because there's, it's oversaturating supply, or I'm sorry, it's the opposite. Supply will oversaturate the demand pretty quickly. So getting out there a little bit earlier could make a difference. It's shitty, again, that people have to think about their lives that way. How do I fit into a supply and demand market, treating yourself as a commodity? But that is what capitalism does to us all the time, constantly. And you kind of sort of objectify yourself. And it's very harrowing to witness and to see this. And, continue to think like, man, the sort of the dance that Microsoft puts on when they're talking to the public versus what it's like behind the scenes. It's such a stark and grim difference that I continue to be in a situation where I just can't feel anything but sick to my stomach about Xbox in this moment.
Yeah, Grubb, I am 100% with you. And I would really, really hate to see Sony PlayStation go and have a similar sentiment with that I have for Xbox right now. I'm hoping they don't get to that point. But anytime a big company starts talking about AI, gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Well, because we know, like we talk about AI constantly on the show, and like what we're like, the understanding there is no matter what they're saying, we know the real thing is we get to cut jobs. We know that's what it always is 100% of the time.
Yeah, like and like this is extending past the games industry as well at this point. Like A24 announcing they're partnering with Google and making a massive investment in AI. I'm like, all right, cool. I like y'all's films. Not gonna go anymore.
Yeah, it's just what it, like. And again, it's like because it bums me out.
Yeah.
Regardless of anything else, like I want to go spend time in a movie theater thinking about cool stuff and having a good time. And if I'm thinking about A24 now, it is gross.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't want to put myself in that environment, let alone the next step of like just thinking about the very basics of what it means for people's jobs. And when I think about that, it's even worse. So, yeah, I think that when we look at something like Compulsion games, it does feel like Microsoft is maybe doing these negotiations in a little bit of bad faith. I would love to be proven wrong. They might be doing it just trying to have like a little bit of a, well, we tried sort of PR moment when this is all said and done. And yeah, their appetite for actually ensuring, like, because again, they could just do the Toys for Bob thing. They could suck it up. They could let all these studios go independent if that's, of course, it takes two to tango. Does anyone at Compulsion Games sort of want to take on the risk of running that studio? I guess I don't know. But at the very least, letting them find their own partner to partner with would be better than Microsoft getting in the way there.
Yeah, and it just feels scummy, Grubb, to hear that like, Microsoft no longer has interest in Compulsion games and still wants to get whatever cut they can before they get rid of Compulsion games. Also, South of Midnight is a game that I would still really, really like to play, but because of the BDS boycotts, it's just something I won't check out.
Yep. I started it up and was just like, yeah, like don't need a lot of excuses not to keep playing. I was kind of feeling it, but not enough to be like, I'm gonna see this through while still not feeling great about Xbox in that moment. Tim Sweeney says only hope for new games is to connect economies of other games, and I wonder who he thinks will be in the middle of those transactions. This is from Nicole Carpenter at Game Developer. Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney wants video game companies to connect their respective games' virtual economies. It's the only hope for new games to succeed, he said in an interview with IGN. The only way that we can hope for new games coming into the market to be able to succeed when there's so much Metcalfe's law at place and so many captive audiences in the really big games, Fortnite, Roblox, PUBG Mobile, and a few other really huge ones. It's got to be that those games get momentum by connecting to the economies in other games, Sweeney said. I think that can really reinvigorate the market if people are constantly looking to new games and sources of new items that they can earn everywhere and be able to really easily move together with their friends. So, okay, let's explain this. People are like, oh, is this the NFTs thing coming back? Not really. It's the metaverse thing that was like always side by side with NFTs, and everyone always knew was like, wait, isn't that just like Steam Marketplace, but you guys get to control more of it? And it's like, yeah, that's what that is. And obviously, the way he imagines this will work is all of these games are on the Unreal Engine. And then when you go to take one thing from another game, well, that you're excited about that, and that means more stuff will be put into these games. Maybe more of these games will have user-generated content, and all of that stuff could be provided with a back-end services platform provided by Epic and Unreal, which would have percentages taken, small percentages here and there. But if it's all happening in Unreal, again, that's what he's pitching here, then he gets to make more money. And he also doesn't have to make more stuff to make more money. He could just make the tools and let other people do the work. And that is, rentiers, people who take rent, people who stand in the way, the middleman, the true person who makes the market go around, Jan. Fuck off. This dude needs to shut up so much more than he does. He almost never shuts up. And the thing is, he should probably always shut up.
What a dork, Grubb.
He's terrible. I hate him. I do. I'm sorry. I hate this. That's my journalistic take here. I hate this guy.
Yeah, I'm not advocating for bullying, but
I mean, you can't get him because he's going to climb back up that tree outside of Epic or whatever he did in that one video.
Great. It's good for him to be that mobile.
Yeah.
Great. Good for you, Tim. Yeah, Grubb, I don't have much to say because I'm just stuck with like my head in my hands of like, shut up. Like this isn't what this type of talk isn't what anyone that is actually playing and consuming games wants to hear. And like, this is also just continues, and solidifies for me, Grubb, that I pretty much, other than our own CEO, trust other than our own C-suite, trust most C-suites across the board, because there was zero interest in taking risks or taking any creative moves to try and like get a new audience or make something fun, new, and exciting. It is all just motivated by dollar signs and how to continue to exploit the players, the parents out there, and their wallets. It's crazy that I feel like a year or however long ago, Grubb, we're talking about Epic and their dark patterns with how they operate and wind up exploiting younger gamers.
All gamers, but especially younger gamers.
Yeah, all gamers, but especially younger gamers into buying more things. And this just feels like another way of, hey, they're not dark patterns anymore. This is just how we operate.
Yeah, and it's like the kind of thing where if Valve was doing this with Steam, which they could easily, right? They already have the Steam marketplace. They don't have the interoperability of like the promise of the interoperability of if everything's on Unreal, that thing over there will just work over there. Which, no, there's no way it's going to be that simple. Developers are still going to have to do work on every item from every other game, and it just in 90 a huge percentage of the time, it probably won't work exactly the way you want it to unless the developers give it that love. So what, I mean, unless it's just a skin, maybe that works. But then like the rigging is going to be different in every game. I just don't believe this concept that it's going to just work. And even with like their magic of we'll have Claude do it. No, it's going to look shitty and people are not going to feel good about it. And it's going to be a joke and it'll be over there. So it's like, it's going to require effort from the developers, just like it would if someone like Valve did it, where it's like, hey, we could do it with the Steam marketplace, where if you buy an item for one game, well, if the developer does the work so that it's in the other game, you just get it. It's like, that's effectively the same thing. And if Valve was doing it, Tim Sweeney would be shitting his pants publicly. He would be going to the town square and scream shitting his pants. And like, it's so nakedly obvious that he would be doing that. That like the fact that he's out there being like, but it's good when I do it, is a joke.
Yeah, I really want to see that though. I want to see him.
Yeah, get to work, Gabe. Come on, man. Let's make some fun stuff happening,
please.
Unreal feels like it's going to break here soon. Like someone's going to be like, hey, we actually don't need this engine. And there's going to be more open source options in like 5 to 10 years that people will just be like, let's go in this direction. Especially if AI is like this thing, right? With AI, couldn't you just tell it to eventually make an open source engine that everyone can just use? Like, what would stop it? It's going to be this magic thing that could do anything. Why wouldn't that be possible? And then once again, as always, we end with these conversations about AI. If it's as powerful as you're claiming, big company, why do we need you? What do you actually provide here?
Yeah, Grubb, like that is the like other elephant in the room that I feel like none of these big bosses want to admit is that, all right, if the tools are as powerful as you're saying, and we can actually go for it and invest in it and like spend our time learning it, then we don't need you.
Yeah, and unless it's not as magic as you claim, which certainly seems like it's often the case.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I don't know how it is in other metropolitan areas, but Grubb, like when I am like driving down the freeway or taking public transportation, there are every single billboard is for some type of AI component in a company.
That's just SF. Yep.
It's fucking gross. I wish I saw an injury lawyer that looked like Dan Reichert instead. And then I could say like, looks like Dan.
Disney will make him pay, everybody.
Yeah. And then at this point, I don't know what these AI companies, who are you marketing to? Are you marketing towards each other? What are you even advertising at this point?
I think it's just like they're just marketing the stock, right? They're marketing the IPO. Like that's what it all is. That's why they're all racing towards these IPOs.
Like I see several billboards, Grubb, of just like some generic scene at home or like a couple sitting somewhere, and then just on the lower lower corner it'll just say ChatGPT. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
What are you talking about?
What does that mean?
This wasn't possible until ChatGPT happened.
So like when we talk about these stories of like Tim Sweeney being like an absolute doofus, like I don't believe in the tools because of how these people are positioning it. Just because like the general sentiment you mentioned, Grubb, then why do we need you over here,
Yeah.
Tim?
And it's so because like we see both sides of it. Like you see the Excel spreadsheet stuff, and like well, you watch someone like show a clip of like, here's what I can do with the AI, and it's like, oh, okay, wow, that just worked, weird. And then someone tries to make any sort of video thing, and it's like, this is the most awkward, weird vegetables in a conversation with one another that doesn't sound anything like real people, and yet millions of people are watching it because taste is just in the gutter these days. But it's like, yeah, that looks terrible. That can never really be a thing long term. But yeah, it's just which way it's going to break. To me, it still feels like it's going to break somewhere in the middle where it's not as magical. So it just will lose its luster so fast, and these companies will have to pay for it. But they know that, and it's just about a couple of these companies getting IPOs and getting rich right now. All right. Sony is intentionally losing money on the Japan-only PS5. Short version here is Hideaki Nishino, who's the CEO of SIE, said that the $55,000 yen Japan-only PS5 digital edition is losing money. It's discounted, but it is a strategic investment. Sony created the region-locked model partly because the weak yen was encouraging overseas consumers to import Japanese consoles. Restricting it to Japanese accounts allowed Sony to subsidize the price without creating an international gray market bargain with a lot of just speculative selling in other places, arbitrage and stuff. Hearing them say this out loud, that they consider this important because they have a strategic investment like priority in Japan, makes me wonder. Okay, what does that look like? What is the next step? You're like, you want people buying PlayStations in Japan. Are you going to refocus on that market, something that you seem to pull away from 10 years-ish ago, a little bit more than that maybe? And like the whole idea back then was we want to have global hits. Well, now it feels like if you start that at home in Japan, those games most of the time turn into global hits. Can we expect that? Is there some chance of returning to an era where Japan Studio was a going concern? Could you sort of bring that back in some way? I'm getting hopeful, Jan, but maybe I shouldn't be.
I just don't know, Grubb. Like, this is just my assumption here. I just don't assume that the Japanese audience is at all interested in a lot of like marathon or games as a service stuff. I say that, and I know that mobile gaming is gigantic in Japan.
Switch is still very popular. Yeah,
Switch is still very popular. I just don't know how you capture that audience or even placate to them.
I mean, maybe it is that handheld. Maybe it's the handheld, like the PS6 handheld, right? Like you invest in it now so that people can get some games in their library, and then suddenly now there's a PS6 handheld that is the PlayStation equivalent of a Switch or Switch 2. And that is something that fits in better with the Japanese way of playing games. I don't know.
Grubb, here's the thing. I know that we were just poo-pooing on Sony and PlayStation and stuff earlier in this episode. Y'all can make this good. Y'all can get me on your side. Everyone knows what I'm about to present here.
No.
With this PS6 handheld y'all are proposing, what if you Grubb is having a lot of fun with a VMU right now, right? It's fun.
That's true.
Cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What if you had a watch component to it, huh?
What if you just had a watch, Sony? What if you had a PlayStation watch?
Yeah, right. What if it looked like a little PS1 with a small disc tray that you could open up?
Well, shit, that rules. Jan, I was going to say, like, when you say these things, do you have an idea of like what they look like? And you clearly already do.
I have several ideas, Grubb.
Are all of them form? Or any of them function?
What's function?
Moving on. Marathon PvE Vault Breaker mode coming in July. This is from Jim Hargraves at the Sixth Axis. Marathon Season 2, Bungie has announced that its extraction shooter will be getting a new PvE mode, and that is coming in July. Again, they're trying a lot of things with Marathon. The thing is, they're trying them pretty quickly. Like, they have that free week a few weeks back, and now already they have an experimental PvE mode. As a reminder, Marathon is very much a PvP experience. It's about going into that world, trying to, PvE PvP. So, like, obviously, you go in the world, try to get loot from the world and the environment, and then you might face off against other players who want to get that stuff from you. That is the heart of that genre. Now, people are like, some people are like, actually, I love all the aesthetics here and the art here, and I want to experience the content, but this is too stressful. And I feel like when I lose my progress because of other people, I just want to stop playing the game. This happened with Sea of Thieves, a game that has like much lower stakes because it's not like you're upgrading. It's the extraction element of Sea of Thieves was just like a loop to give you something to do without really being like you're building towards something. And even that sort of was like too much for people. And they're like, yeah, eventually we got a PvE mode. And so Marathon trying that, it doesn't feel like it's going to change its fortune, but it will at least be interesting to see if it like registers with a new audience.
I wonder if they're going to try and plan to do another free weekend with this Grubb, because then I could easily see people that were off-put by the PvP, VE, PvP, VBBB nature of the game being off-putting. Like Marathon, I really like the look of the game. I think it looks amazing. Great fonts, maybe fonts of the year in 2026 for Game of the Year this year.
I think so.
But the nature of having to deal with other people in that PvP nature is, I don't want to say off-putting to me, but it just adds a layer of stress that I don't want induced into my day. If I could just go in and grab some, fight some enemies, perhaps play with a couple friends, like that seems more of a good time rather than having to have some harrowing adventure anytime I boot up the game.
Yep, I'm definitely curious to like try it. For me, like the idea of like getting into a PvP VE world and the chance of like making friends with a stranger or something like that, I still find that very appealing. And yet I'm not playing Marathon all that much. So maybe this is the thing where like, actually I do want this and I want something that's lower stakes, which I'm definitely at that point in my life a little bit.
And like the lower stakes thing cannot be understated, Grubb, because like I will boot up a game of Marvel Rivals like every other day just because I can pop in. And like the time commitment is low, investment is low, so I can just pop in and have a good time. And most of the time it's just solo dolo versus Marathon, which feels like a whole endeavor to pop into to just try and like extract and get a couple goods and look at some neat fonts.
Yep. GTA 6 disc version will reportedly be coming in December. Insider claims. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. The idea of like not even waiting a little bit longer, it's like makes it so obvious they're just doing this to avoid resale and leaks at the beginning. Although they care about leaks. They really just want to squelch the used market. According to Polish site PvE.pl, whose insider Grajdari was previously responsible for the initial claims that GTA 6 would not have a physical version on release day in order to prevent leaks, has now confirmed that, or at least claimed, that the game will get a physical version in December. I think if they're going to do that, my original idea was like next year we'll get the ultimate version only on disc at $100. Maybe they still do that, Jan, but if it's coming that quickly, to me, that just makes it sound like, oh, they want to have the $80 version on store shelves before the end of the year. Maybe not by Black Friday, but by the end of the year while they could still do it for gift giving season. And obviously they're going to have a case with a code in it on shelves, but some people will hold off. Do you think that sounds right? It sounds weird to me.
Yeah, I mean the timing of it, of course it's going to be ready in December, because after that initial boom of people, Grubb, that don't care or just want to play it as soon as possible, even if they don't have like the means to quickly download a game, they're going to go do that. And then December time, people are looking for gifts to give, and they'll see GTA 6 on the shelves.
Yep. Valve releases SteamOS so anyone can make a Steam machine now. Basically, this is part of that Steam machine release. I think you're going to need an AMD GPU. Yes, so for now, you will have to be using an AMD graphics card as Valve continues to work on NVIDIA for support for an official release in 2027. I got some older parts laying around, Jan. I might build a Steam machine.
Cool.
I think we'll do a stream of that. I'm going to talk to Sean about it. We'll hang out. Maybe him and I can answer some questions about like what this is like while I focus on the building. We'll get that going here pretty soon.
You should get Backlar to 3D print a case.
Perfect. All right. Yeah, and then send me a keyboard.
Yep.
Cool. So that's neat. Man, Linux as a gaming platform growing and growing would be a very welcome development. just leave anything that's not open source behind. That would be very nice.
Yeah.
All right, a couple of things. Today, that Capcom Spotlight thing is going to be happening at 5 p.m. Eastern, roughly 30 minutes. As usual, this is just expect this to be updates on well-known quantities or entities, I should say. This is going to be Dragon's Dogma 2, Dark Arisen, Monster Hunter Stories 3, Twisted Reflection, and Onimusha Way of the Sword. Capcom has not advertised things like Resident Evil Veronica or the recently announced Street Fighter 6 for this. The Street Fighter 6 material, like the updates there. Today, major releases. Star Fox is out. Dead or Alive 6 Last Round is out. Citizen Sleeper 1 and 2 are hitting the Switch 2. Arcade Archives 2 Tekken. So the arcade version of Tekken is hitting PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and Switch 2. Abyssus, that game we played a while back, Jan, that's now hitting consoles, PS5 and Xbox Series. And the Gecko Gods is hitting Switch 2. Which
Gex?
Is a game I saw people the Gexo God. And then tomorrow, Evo begins. They have 12 tournaments going on. It's scheduled to begin in Las Vegas. And Arc System Works is teased that they will have newly announced Blaze Blue Central Fiction DLC fighter revealed. Or something like that.
I haven't heard as much heat on the street or excitement for this Evo. I wonder why, Grubb.
It's hard. It's hard to put any sort of blame on anyone except for Saudi Arabia. All right, that does it for the headlines. Let's get to the poll question from yesterday. I have the results right over here. Are you going to pre-order Grand Theft Auto 6? Yes or no? Hell no. What are you talking about? Pre-order? 82% said, what the hell are you talking about? 18% said yes. Still quite a big number, especially for this audience, which I would consider pretty savvy, Jan.
Yeah. Also, just pre-ordering why?
Pre-ordering why? Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, but I mean, people get excited. Like, if you know you're going to get this and you know you could start preloading it a week early and just have it ready to go that day, and you took time off work, those people exist. And I mean, I understand it to a certain degree. But it's just like, I don't know. Pre-ordering feels bad these days.
I mean, GTA 6 was the talk of the town at the gym yesterday. And, most of the people that go to the gym aren't necessarily like tuned in and cool and hot as our audience is, despite what Jeff Backler thinks of their appearance. But having to tell them and be the person that goes, actually, the $80 version doesn't have a disc. You're going to have to download it. And also, the $100 version is going to get you access to stores. And no, the $80 version, you won't eventually get access to those. So I guess if you really want to play it, you have to get the $100 version. I don't control the prices. I don't actually make games.
And it's very funny to see this as the Ultimate Edition being like, there's 5 stores you can't access. And it's be like, what are you going to do for the PC Ultimate version where people are just going to be able to get around that with Cheat Engine or whatever else, or mods that will just open those things up? That's pretty dumb. Can't you come up with something more creative? And turns out, no. You know what? I think it's a bad sign for Grand Theft Auto 6 that this is their Ultimate Edition. It feels antiquated, feels behind the times, and is that indicative of what we can expect from Grand Theft Auto 6? I hope not. It's a big game that I want to enjoy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Not feeling too confident about it.
It also, I don't know. You've had all this time, y'all. Make it cool. Make it hot. Give me a gold chain with it if you're going to make me pay that much.
Something cool.
Yeah. Like a watch. I think it's funny that the top comment on this poll, Grubb, I'm just reading here, all right? Folks, people listening at home, I'm not advocating for things. I'm just reading.
Just reporting the facts.
This person says, I don't think there's a pre-order button on QB Torrent. At least I haven't found one.
Keep looking. It's there somewhere. All right, fantastic. That does it for the poll question from yesterday. We have a new poll question. Are you planning to buy a console by the end of 2026? Yes, no. I guess any console should count. Maybe even throw a Steam machine in there. I guess that would count. But maybe I'm was just wondering about the Xbox and PlayStation going into Grand Theft Auto 6. But you answer this how you want to. We'll get the results, talk about it on tomorrow's show here on Giant Bomb. Speaking of Giant Bomb, in a few minutes, Jan, Monsters of the Deep. I'm going to be going into the VR. I'm going to be going inside of my PS4 and swimming around for those fishing fantasy monsters in the virtual reality.
Grubb, I might have to go produce some things.
Yeah, I can handle this.
Okay, all right. If you're sure,
Yep.
if you need a life rope, I don't know nautical terms. I can jump in and try and save you, but who knows?
No, we'll handle it over here. I'll get it going here soon, everybody. And then we have voicemail dump truck with Abby Russell today.
Woo! Love Abby. Abby's the best. She's my favorite person.
Agreed.
Also,
she made us say that.
No, she didn't. Grubb, later today, you, me, and Chuck are going to be joining our dear friend Bailey Myers and Good Time Society for Roll for Pride, a charity stream for the Trans Wellness Center. That will be popping off at 2 p.m. Pacific time. I think we're just going to be playing Jackbox with Bailey. So fun times, great cause at the end of Pride Month and everything.
Hell yeah. Looking forward to that as well. Busy day. Let's hang out, everybody. So stick around. Let's see here. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing some UPF, web fishing, things like that. So more fun stuff on the site tomorrow as well. Oh, Umagari. I should be able to finish Umagari tomorrow. I'm at the very end of that game. So we will have completed a fishing game on Fishing Week.
That game is scary.
It's scary, Jan. It's scary and weird, and there was a man in a washing machine and he had his butt out.
I half expect by the time you finish this game, a key truck will wind up in the ocean.
I think there's a high likelihood that that's the case because, those K trucks are just in those asset stores and stuff like that, and it definitely feels like one of those games. Like parentheses positive. Like I've really been enjoying my time in that game. It's been fun hanging out with chat. So tune in tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern. Everybody should be able to finish that game. It's a weird Japanese spearfishing game that is actually very scary. All right. Jan, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
It's the only way to start a Thursday, Grubb.
Thank you all for watching and listening. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.